interesting topic today. And I must say that as your advisor, a role I've held for more than 5 years, I'm absolutely delighted, seriously, how Precision navigated this COVID period. You did a great job. I think you did a good job because you navigated between prudence and defensiveness, which we needed, with opportunism when the situations arose. So very happy about that. And I've been on the inside of a lot of those discussions, but for the listening audience today, I think they'll be fascinated to know why you've done, what you announced last week. And to be specific, you have decided, indeed you've announced to your recruiters and your whole team, I guess, that you're going to move them back, Simon, to a 5-day week, paid-wise. They're going to be paid for 5 days, but you're only asking them to work for 4 days. Now, what were you thinking behind this move? This is what we want to know.
It's a very good question, Greg. First of all, thank you for your help this year. Been a big support and a lot of free work. I think we got our definitely our dollars worth out of you this year. So good question. The thinking is quite simple, and the team have been performing. We're on track to have our best year ever working a 4-day week. So we're basically going to reward the team by paying them for a 5-day week. As you know, when COVID hit, we were looking at our cost like everybody else, and we reduced that cost by 20%. And that's where it got interesting. We saw that included with working from home, that 4-day week meant that productivity increased. And from what we understand, that was because their health and well-being was being taken care of. They were enjoying the 3-day weekend. They were enjoying working from home. Productivity increased, more placements happened, and that fed back into their health and well-being. We do a lot of surveys every quarter with the team, asking them how they're feeling, how they're getting on, and asking for feedback. And like everybody, the feedback was positive in that we're loving this 4-day week. I believe they were expecting with the transition for us to maybe give people a choice of working 4 days or 5 days. And we surprised them by saying, you know what, we're going to pay for 5, and the expectation is that you work 4. Now, they also understand that the expectation is if they need to work 7 days or 6 days or 5 days, they do it because they're accountable, mature, high-performing recruiters who will do what's required to achieve the outcomes and achieve their targets and goals. And we're very lucky in that we have got a team that we trust, who've done amazingly well this year, and that word trust isn't to be taken for granted. And when we went into this in March and April, when COVID hit, we were really worried and scared like everybody else, and I didn't know what was going to happen. You know, we were a little bit vulnerable, and the team have just been amazing, and they deserve the opportunity to show the world that actually recruiters are mature enough to work a 4-day week and get paid for 5.
Yeah, I think the word trust that you've mentioned has been one of the real benefits for many owners of recruitment companies of COVID. And you don't often use the word benefits and COVID in the same sentence. But one of the benefits is that we realize we can treat people like adults, and that almost universally, none of my clients have reported that people have taken the mickey on working from home or anything like that. So that's been fabulous, and your team have responded brilliantly. But I presume they were happy with the news. What sort of response did you get when you told them this is what we're doing? We're giving you a 20% pay rise, basically, or a day off.
Yeah, I give Jill the glory, if you like. She calls me the good news director, and she's the bad news director. She's always the one who gives out bad news. So I said, you know what, you can give this good news. And on the call, I was working from home that day, so I couldn't see everybody's face and reaction because of the way I had the PowerPoint set up. So I kind of missed out on that. But from what I understand and the feedback and the messages, and Christmas party on Friday off the back of that good news, and I think it was probably the best Christmas party ever. Everybody is just delighted and excited and kind of, I suppose, just feeling energized by it, if that makes sense. Kind of they seem really determined and energized to prove that it's a great move and make it work. So yeah, I'm feeling very popular, Greg.
You've explained the reasons, but specifically, I know I was on the inside of our conversations about this, but explain to everyone, what outcomes are you expecting? Why would you make a move like this? You want your people to be happy. You want them to be well adjusted. You're concerned with mental health, but you're looking for a return, I'm sure. What are you expecting?
Definitely. So like I mentioned, we're on track to have our best year ever. So we want to stay on track to achieve that. So we want the outcomes and the performance and the productivity to be, as a minimum, the same as what it has been, if not better. We want to retain our staff because you know what, they're thinking, oh my God, this is amazing. We're working for leaders who trust us in a company where we're being treated like adults. Yes, we're getting all the support and the direction and the incentives that come with working for a great recruitment business like us, but actually this is a really big benefit that can have a huge impact on our lives and our health and well-being. So we want to retain staff. And then ultimately, I suppose the cherry on the cake would be to have some people who are sat at the desk of competitors now thinking, you know what, I'd love to work for an organization who's doing some cool stuff and kind of looking at innovation and trusting people. So maybe we'll be able to headhunt or attract some high performance recruiters who are interested in joining our business.
You know, I think it's an interesting thing you mentioned there, because I think one of the definite outcomes of COVID is that a lot, and this isn't only true, Simon, of recruitment consultants, it's true of, I think, a lot of people, they are re-evaluating what's important to them in an employer. Money's always important, working for a good brand's important, but I think those things were very important, but now they're just in the mix. And now working for an empathetic company, one who understands what it's like to be stressed is important. So I think that will be interesting. But I'm going to put my hat on now as an owner of a recruitment company listening to you. Yeah. And I know what they'll be thinking. One of the things they'll be thinking is, yes, now what about, it's all very well and good if people are performing, but they'll be thinking, what about dealing with underperformers in this situation where you want them to work harder? Or what about if you get a massive influx of work and there's the potential for jobs to fall off the table and people not doing it because they're working 4 days? What was your thinking around those scenarios?
Yeah, so that's been happening in our business when you're talking about the latter there, kind of being inundated with work. Like, we've had so much work during this period, obviously not kind of March, April where things fell off a cliff, but certainly in the last 3, 4, 5 months, we've had so much work. And we've had some of our guys working weekends, working 7 days a week, doing whatever they've needed to do to deliver. And that's one of the reasons we're in this position. So again, it's about doing whatever you need to do to perform and hit your outcomes, your goals, your targets, and being committed to that, whether that be 4 days, 5 days, 6 days, or 7 days. Now, we've been fortunate in that so I'm going to answer the first part of your question now. Poor performers, we haven't had any so far during this period. Everybody's performed. And the reason they've performed is they've had a brilliant attitude and they've done everything they've said that they're going to do when it comes to outcomes. They've delivered on that. And again, our message is the same. Have a great attitude, deliver on your outcomes, because the talent within this business is huge. And when people are talented and they work hard, great things happen. I've been asked the question by the team, and it's a great question, what if the business is not performing? And the answer is simple. If the business is not performing on the 4-day, 5-day structure, it's not because of the 4-day, 5-day structure, it's because individuals are not performing. And if individuals are not performing, they'll not be in this business. Like, we're fully committed to this 4-day, 5-day structure. It's been working already this year. So if it's not working, it's down to individuals, and we'll pick it up with those individuals. The rest of the business will not suffer because of those individuals, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Got it. I think it's exactly right. I think, my feeling on it is if somebody's not performing, well, that's a separate issue to how many hours they're working.
Yeah.
Just adding more hours of doing the wrong things or not doing them well isn't going to improve the performance. So yeah. I love the thinking around this because it's much more than just working hours. It addresses a lot of issues around efficiency, productivity, prioritizing. A lot of things are going to come out of this if it works well, which I believe it will. Are there any other downsides that you're concerned about? Any other risks as you went around this decision making? And I asked that question not because I'm questioning the decision, but I think a lot of people watching this will be thinking, what was the thought process? What could go wrong? Yeah. Did you have any others?
So quite a risk-averse business. I think that says it all. Like, you know us really well, and we are very risk-averse, and we analyse, and we slept on this for several nights before we made the decision. And we reached out to Nikki Beaumont, who introduced the 4-day, 5-day at Beaumont People, a very different business, but we picked her brains. We've looked at studies, white papers. We've questioned experts like yourself. We had a facilitator to come in and help us with our thinking. So for us, nothing really changes. We have had some people this year who've needed a break where they've been overworked because of that commitment to make things work. So we may have to maybe look at that, because there might be the team might kind of be thinking, hold on, we really want this to work, and they might overdo it a little bit. But again, as long as people are managing their holidays and their well-being well, all we can see really is an upside. And all of the tools in place from a technology point of view. For us now, it's a case of putting in place a framework whereby we can make sure all the processes and systems are in place and that people can work to this framework. Again, something that Nikki said of Beaumont people is that expect there to be mistakes, you can do all the planning in the world, but expect there to be something that you've missed out, and just be patient with each other and work through it and talk through it and just have that trust. So the team and the leadership team were fully on board with that.
Yeah, just because there's teething problems doesn't mean to say it's a good plan. You know, it's
That's
like
right.
anything. And by the way, you are a risk-averse business. I wonder whether you remember the very first board meeting I had with you 5 years ago, where my considered advice was for you to fire your biggest client, which was $10 million worth of business. Yeah. And you did, after a lot of crying, but it was a good move. So you are prepared to take some chances. Question. You touched on this. This is obviously for your current staff, and it's a reward for their loyalty, and it's a recognition that they're mature people. So that's been fabulous for them, and I'm quite sure they'll be loving not only the extra day, but the trust that's implicit in this. So I think people will appreciate that. So what about a new person? Is this going to apply to anybody who starts going forward, or you can test them out on 5 days first? Or what's your thinking about that?
It's a good question. I think it depends on the individual. I think depends on the recruiter and their background, their drivers, their motivation. I can put myself in their shoes. I'd be attracted to join our business because of the 4-day, 5-day structure. But initially, until I get up and running and feel comfortable, I might want to do kind of 5 days, or if I've got kids or different kind of responsibilities, maybe I want to go straight into the 4 days. Again, it depends on the person's drivers, what they're looking to get out of joining our business. If they want to be $1 million biller and get up and running as quickly as possible, they might not want to do the 4-day a week. On the other hand, they may want to dive straight into that because of their personal circumstances. I think we would have a chat with them and the flexibility will be there, but 100% for the right person, they could come straight into the 4-day, 5-day, definitely.
Very good. Well, that's all my questions for you, Simon. Anything you'd like to wrap up with?
Yeah, definitely. So, Greg, obviously you're a bit of a guru in the world of recruitment, and I'm keen to know, like, what do you think of this? Are we mad?
Well, that's a very layered question. Are you mad, Simon? Absolutely. Absolutely. I've had all the reports of your behavior on the football field. Yes, you are mad. But in this particular decision, no, I don't think you're mad at all. In fact, I'm quite excited by it. I mean, in our meetings and also in public webinars and things, I've been talking about innovation a lot, about the opportunity to slaughter sacred cows, to do things differently as we come out of COVID. I've also been saying to you and to others that recruiters often allow, and I do this myself, I allow the work I've got in front of me to fill the amount of time I've got available, and that you can get much more efficient and productive. So I think it's going to work, and I think when it works, it's going to give us like twin nirvanas. One is it's going to give us greater efficiency and productivity, which is a very good thing, but it's also going to give our team more lifetime, a better balance, things that they want to spend time on, and that's going to have massive benefits around motivation, general life satisfaction, which of course will flow into work. So I don't think you're mad, but I do think now that the decision has been made, the implementation is where the work comes. There's going to be challenges. There's going to be the odd person who doesn't just get it. There's going to be situations where you're going to be tempted to go back to the paradigms that we know. Yeah. But I think in principle, it's a wonderful thing. It's the sort of thing that flies in the face of the whole ethos of most recruitment companies over most years. And this is exactly the sort of thing that something as dramatic as a COVID recession should encourage us to try. So I commend you on the courage and the innovation, and I look forward to seeing it working. And I will just make the point that while your staff are working less time for more hours, it appears that your advisor is working more time for less money. So maybe you can put me on a 4-hour week or something like that. Be nice.
Yeah, I'm up for negotiation, Greg. No worries.